Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us today. I'm Rick Levine, Executive Director at the NAUMD, Network Association of Uniform Manufacturers and Distributors. This is usually the point where I just give a quick plug about the NAUMD. So we are a network of uniform, image, apparel, workwear companies. And we gather and share best practices in order to improve our supply chains, innovation, build awareness. We have a convention each year. Next year's April 27 to 29 in New Orleans. I'm just browsing our naumd.com page, so feel free to go here and learn more about the NAUMD if you're one of the non-members that's viewing this. If you're a member, you might already know, but there's lots of other things to learn as a member here. So very excited today to have Aptean with us. They're a valued, trusted member of our network. And today we're having what we're calling a digital roundtable. So we've gathered these fine folks from the Aptean team. Aptean team, that's a tricky one to say, Emily. The Aptean team to talk about automation's impact on apparel manufacturing, and it's especially relevant, I think, in this explosion of technology and AI and manufacturing around the planet. And I'm probably stealing people's headlines by commenting myself, but I'm going to introduce Emily Scales, who is from Aptean and will serve as moderator for this group. Emily, I'll just turn it over to you at this point.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rick. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. Get the PowerPoint up. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Awesome. We'll go ahead and we'll get started. So first off, thank you, Rick. And thank you for everyone who has joined us today. I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Digital Roundtable, Automation's Impact on Apparel Manufacturing, presented by Anthony Mele, Damien Kodner, and Kent Johnson. Throughout the webinar, we do encourage everyone to submit their questions using the Zoom Q&A feature, and we'll address those questions at the end in our Q&A session. Now let's take a moment to meet the experts who will be sharing their insights with everybody today. I'm going to go to the next slide. And Anthony, would you like to go ahead and kick us off with a short introduction?
Yeah, just overall, everybody's probably deduced by now that we're from the Aptean Apparel Solutions team. I'll call out that last year we roughly invested $20 million into our apparel solutions. It's a big, nice, hefty number, but a big part of that is research and development. And, the key word there being research. So with all that research, not only listening to our customers, we get out there, we survey the industry, talk to thousands of industry experts. It's thanks to them that we are filled with a wealth of knowledge and able to speak to these topics today. We've got our apparel ebook, which we pulled some of these topics from. But I will note, obviously, as Emily said, it is roundtable. So not scripted. We're just going to talk off the cuff based on the topics. And again, what we're hearing from customers and everything that we've learned from the marketplace this year.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's kick it over to John Robinson.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks, Anthony. This is an industry that I've been in for many decades. Absolutely love it. And I was like some others on the call here, Rick. I was kind of born into it through a family member, got introduced to it, but my family's been in the business since 1927, and no, I'm not that old. But I do love the industry and have been providing solutions from design and development, sourcing, manufacturing, B2B solutions, and just super excited to share a little bit about what we're doing here at Aptean for our clients. From the concept, I like to say from the concept through the cash phase, every process you can think of from the beginning to the end, manage it. We help our customers manage it better and do it digitally so that you have more efficient business and happier customers. So we look forward to sharing with you.
Thanks, John. Damien.
Yes. Hello, everybody. And Thank you, John, and thank you, Anthony. I'm a senior manager with the Aptean Apparel Group, and I'm pretty new to Aptean. My company was acquired not too long ago by Aptean, and I am really proud to be part of the team. I've had a lot of experience in this space. Like John, I've been doing this for a pretty long time, probably 25 plus years of my professional career, and really helping executives and owners realize the value of automation in solving business challenges and problems. And I'm hoping that we can speak to a lot of that here in today's webinar. So I would look forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Damien. And last but not least, Kent.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Kent Johnson here. I'm a senior manager for Aptean underneath the Full Circle product line. A little bit about myself. I've been in and outside of the apparel space on both sides of the business. So I've been actually at a client and I've been at the software side for about 25 years. So I know the pain points on both sides. And I really enjoy working with my customers and helping them overcome some of those challenges that they experience on a day-to-day basis. And that's basically what I do, on a week-to-week basis, is just work with the clients, develop the solutions that are custom tailored fit for their needs, and really just drive their sales and their business growth. So looking forward to chatting with you all.
Awesome. Thank you. Alrighty, let's go get started. So we're going to kick it off with the first question, which is going to be more of an industry overview. So what challenges are apparel manufacturers facing that lead them to invest in new technology solutions? And I think Anthony wants to kick us off with this one.
Yeah, we'll get us started there. I'd say, we've got a couple topics that we see over and over again. I'd say the most popular of late would be rising costs, right? How do we control those inflation? I'm sure everybody saw the news today. The Fed's held the rates, so a little bit of a step in the right direction there. But that driving increased materials costs, labor costs are a big one, and obviously one of the hot topics we'll be discussing today with automation and hopefully minimizing some of those labor costs, not to take it away, but obviously create greater efficiencies and utilize our human capital in a better manner. In addition to that, right, just customer and retailer demands. I know that'll be another topic we'll explore a little bit more deeply. But you've got customers that want that certain level of visibility into what's happening out on the floor. Do they have time to change an order, right? Is it too late? And for the manufacturers themselves, whether vertically integrated or contract manufacturer, right? What materials do they have on hand? What can they do? What can they get done? And then I'd say one that flies under the radar, another topic would be like the equipment systems. There's a whole generation of employees that are retiring, that, whether it's a maintenance person that was managing and fixing a machine constantly over the years that knows it so well, and maybe nobody else knows how to do that, as well as systems, right? You've got systems and platforms where now this new class of employees coming in, they're used to these modern technologies, modern solutions, and, really just need to overcome that learning curve. So you see a lot of the companies investing in new technology to make sure they are future-proofing those solutions and equipment as well.
Anybody else want to jump in here?
Well, the good news is, there's rising costs. This is tongue in cheek, but at least the retailers and customers are willing to pay less. So the reality is it's an increasing pressure constantly. So your status quo is no good anymore. If you've invested in technology 8-10 years ago, it's time to relook. It's time to rethink. It's time to take what you're doing well and do even better. The pressure is on. Better delivery, better visibility, lower cost, and at the same time making sure that you have this technology in place that your customers look at you and know that they can rely on you as a supplier. It's more critical today than ever before. And a lot of retailers and even wholesale distributors are looking not just at what your product is, but what systems you have in place to make sure you can meet their demands.
Right. think this brings us into our next question, retailer demands. What kind of service level do retailers expect apparel manufacturers to deliver today? And how do technology pieces impact that experience?
Wow, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump on that one. And of course,
Go ahead.
We've got a wealth of knowledge here on the team to add to it and even improve on what I'm saying here. But, retailers are incredibly demanding. And the reason they're incredibly demanding, they're not trying to be mean to the suppliers. Their customers, the consumers, are demanding. They want more. They want more choices. They want it faster. They want the size and color and the fit and the price that they want when they want it. So if you don't have visibility into your allocation of your orders, of your inventory, being able to fulfill those orders through multiple channels, whether it be EDI, retail store, website, B2B site, your own website, etc., they'll quickly go somewhere else. I mean, listen, the current generation, they're looking at their phone and they're looking for something. If they don't find it on the first place they go to look, they'll just quickly go to another. And loyalty is way, way down. So you have to be able to provide the service and support and the products and deliveries that drive that loyalty, because it's becoming harder and harder to keep that loyalty. So having the right solutions in place to do that and to fulfill those orders in a timely manner and not leave somebody hanging, whether it's the consumer directly or the retailer, they will also look for another supplier, just like that consumer will go to the next website. So be good at what you do, deliver on time, and you're going to beat out the competition or take market share.
Yeah, and I want to pivot just a little bit on that too, John. With everything you said, it really boils down to an expectation and how easy is it to do business with you? How easy and how simple. If they can do business with you easily, simply, quickly, painlessly, then you're going to be their vendor of choice.
Yep.
Yeah, and Damien, you just hit it right on the head. I mean, being able to have seamless integration, via different channels or whatever you may have, whether it's going to be an API, a flat file, or, like a lot of the major retailers out there use EDI. And with EDI, it's really easy to turn on new retailers and also send them, real time, or at least as real time as it can be, inventory levels, so that that retailer is getting that visibility into your inventory. And like John, you were saying, it flows down to the end consumer. So it's really key to, have a system that's capable in, multi-layer integrations with all these different ways that you're going to get these orders into your system.
Yeah, Ken, I mean, you're bringing up a really good point, right? It puts you in a position to service the retailers' different channels. I think that's a key word that you said there, was the channels, enabling yourself to do things like drop ship. John's probably sick of me saying it, but right, that consumer demand, I call it the Amazon Prime effect, right? I ordered stuff this morning and it's already here. Right. So, like you said, you've got that customer that's used to that. And at the same time, they still expect the same level of quality or better. Right. And that's where that loyalty is a little bit less than it used to be. They're not sticking with the same brand because they've got so many options. But when it comes to the manufacturer, right, keeping themselves in the position to have those quicker turnaround times and enabling them to deliver to those multiple channels. And then John, you talked about, right, from the retailer demand side, you've got compliance, right? I mean, I've seen it at the state level government, right? Whether it's eco-friendly, sustainability, right? There's different laws that are starting to come into play, right? It only complicates things even more, but that's where that visibility comes in, to track it really from the beginning to the end of the process. So you've got a good hold on everything, so you're not missing any steps in between. So you kind of do check all those boxes to get it out the door and meet the demands on both sides.
Yeah, and and when we talk about uniform, which is our main audience here, is that you need traceability on the raw materials even. If there's a failure on the line somewhere, you have to trace it back. So you have to have visibility of where that fabric or that raw material originated from, what was the lot number, which item did it go into, who is it sold to, what's the life cycle of that product, et cetera, et cetera. So I know it's extremely demanding for the uniform business.
Yeah, we've got a lot of customers doing serialization.
Yes.
Right? And just, again, tracking it all the way through. Can't have expired materials going into, life vests, uniforms for the military, bulletproof vests, turnout gear for firefighters. These are all things that, right, save lives, all survival gear.
100%. It's a serious topic.
Awesome. Great discussion, you guys. That brings us to workforce dynamics. How do workforce dynamics drive automation in the apparel manufacturing industry?
I'll jump in on this one. There's a huge generational shift in this industry, and I think Anthony mentioned it, and even John did a little bit about the changes in the younger generation and the expectation for automation. The apparel industry has traditionally consisted of really family businesses. And the older generation that started these businesses did a lot of it manually, paper, pencil, a little bit of automation, but not much. And so there's always been a bit of a reluctance to embrace technology. That is not the same with the younger generation who grew up with technology and fully embrace it and really are tech savvy. So, the younger generation sees the value in technology much more readily than the older generation. And as the older generation retires, the ability to obtain and retain fresh talent is pivotal upon what kind of automation you have in place. If you've got an older tech stack that looks rusty and difficult to use, it's not going to be real attractive to new or key personnel.
Yeah, I mean, Damien, right? It's such a commonality across all of our customers, whether a distributor, manufacturer, but that younger generation coming in, right? They had it right in their pocket the whole time they grew up with that technology and experiencing how they could leverage it from the get-go. I always joke around because we'll talk to people and I'll ask, well, how do you do your allocation today? And that's obviously something that a lot of systems can automate, especially if it's specific to the industry, put rules in place. But outside of that, usually I say, oh, Mary is your allocation system, right? They have somebody that's manually doing those processes and knows their customers and how to manage it or how to tier their customers, who's important, who's paying, right? So enabling them to have a system that could sort of maintain those things. But these younger folks come in and they don't want to do it in as many clicks as they're doing it and as many inputs as they're doing it with those legacy systems right now. And I'll mention one more thing. I'll kick it off somebody else here, but also the skill sets of that generation as well. For manufacturers, especially, right? Labor out on the factory floor, in the plant. You've got a certain skill set, and I don't want to say it's dying because we've got a lot of manufacturers we work with. They're doing a great job of training, but we're also seeing machine automation, right? Things like that. I'll tell a quick story, and John will probably know who I'm talking about and back me up, but I'd say he's one of the top engineers in the world. I think very, very highly of him. This is a guy that could rattle off how many seconds are in a year, seconds in a day, because he's looking to save every second. But we were on the floor, and forgive me, Rick, if I'm not allowed to plug, I'll say this: they're not a partner, they're not a client, they're just local to the area, and I got to see this machine in action. But he had a sleeve hemming machine, and that machine automated not the process the whole way, right? There's still an operator there that also needs a new but unique skill set, right, that they had to train for. But he was sharing how that cut their labor on that operation by 70%. Right, so you're talking about savings. So, you're looking at both the systems and equipment, just calling it out because obviously we've got a lot of manufacturers on the line today.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But that was, I said I was going to say the name and I didn't, but I will because I thought very highly of their systems as well. Atlanta Attachment Company. So pretty cool if you get a chance to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things about automation, both Anthony, John, and Damien really touched on it, is it's automation to save the cost, right? You're looking at a cost savings to making sure that you're getting the, best resource out of your human capital, which is probably your most expensive resource that you have. And so really what it comes down to is automate everything. I don't want to have to manually do anything. I don't want to have to manually allocate, pick, ship, update my orders, any of this stuff. I want the system to intelligently tell me what I need to do so that I can work on that 20% that needs to be done versus the 80% that could be automated. So I think that word automation just comes around to cost savings, being able to save that human resource capital and basically make everybody's life easier. And then also being able to attract the younger generation by not having to actually go in and manually do things. You set it up once, you forget it, and it just runs.
Yep.
And by the way, Excel is not an allocation tool. Nor is Mary, who you mentioned at the beginning there, Anthony.
Yes.
And I bet Mary does take a vacation every now and then.
Mary had a server under her desk for those large Excel files.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Ken said it well. Ken, I always like to sum it up as, let the system almost tell you what to focus on, right? Like you said, exception reporting, let it call out where the problem is, where you need to focus your time and energy. And you're just, it's influencing better decisions overall that way.
Well put.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Well, next topic is going to be long-term technology investment. Do apparel manufacturers take a long-term enough view with their technology stack?
I'll kick this one off, but I'm sure everybody on the call here has a point to make here.
I saw Damien smirking, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have our cameras on, don't we?
We do. Gotta be careful about those smirks.
Yeah, right. But as far as companies looking ahead long term about their tech stack and the solutions and tools that we've talked about up until this point, a lot of companies don't look at that long term until they're forced to. It could be by their customer, it could be by maybe a key personnel. Maybe we'll pick on Mary. Maybe Mary decides to retire. Oh, goodness gracious, we don't have that knowledge inside the company anymore. We're going to have to go out and get the technology to do that so that we don't run into this problem 10 years again. 10 years ago, 10 years from now again, like we did just now. And the fashion industry and the uniform industry typically have been laggards in terms of investing in technology. And I can say that because I'm from the industry. And a lot of times it's only by necessity that they do it instead of looking ahead to see how can I get a jump on the competition. And I have seen in the 4 decades that I've been in this industry, the companies that are willing to invest in solutions, not seeing a short-term ROI, like, gee, this thing better pay for itself in 3 months. They look at it as a platform to launch their business for the next 10 years, so that they can take market share from their competitor, retain the talent, and satisfy their customers faster and cheaper than they could before, and putting them in a position not only to take market share, but sometimes even significantly grow their business or even make acquisitions of their competitors, because competitors just throw in their flies. I've seen that happen. Like, these guys are just running circles around me. And it's a lot of times it comes down to just investing in the future, not just what can it do for me today, but what's the long term look like.
It's kind of like our tagline, right, John? Ready for what's next now?
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than waiting.
Yeah,
Rather
exactly.
than waiting.
Yep, well said. Good plug there for the tagline too.
Yeah.
And I view this as such a hot topic, and kind of comes, I guess, pun intended, with Ken on the line, full circle, right? It comes all the way around. That we're talking about the generations, right? You've got a family generational business, whether it be manufacturing, wholesale, distribution. I see fear a lot of the times, right? Because maybe the first time they put a system in place, very challenging, disruptive to the business. And let me tell you something, even with the modern tech stacks, may have gotten a little bit easier, but that fear, that pain, it's still very real. Right. So that's why it's so important to pick the right partner, the right solution. But you see, right, that younger generation, as we talked about, they're a little more accustomed to some of the tools, so they're willing to take that plunge. But usually there's that push and pull because they're running their business on that system, and some of them are running as well as they can. Maybe they can be running better. But John, like you said, maybe Mary's going to retire. The IT folks, maybe they have a team. A lot of the legacy systems, we'll talk to people who have. I mean, we had somebody the other day. They asked me keyword that Kent said, with more modern technologies, API. They're like, can you send it over our API documentation? And this is one of the largest manufacturers out in LA. They had, I think, 10 people on that list to send it to because they have to carry all these in-house developers. They have contracted resources for IT. But the thing is, it's like a lot of those people are not only changing, but may retire. And then all of a sudden it's causing that conversation to bubble up that they have to look a little more closely. And like Damien said, they hesitate. They're not ready for what's next now. And they kind of continue to delay, push it off, honestly, until the pain and the problems and revenue losses, right? The impact to the business is so negative that it finally forces their hand, right? All of us on the panel, I mean, we're having these conversations every day. It's nice to see, us be able to try to help them get there a little bit quicker and avoid the pain from becoming worse, right? Because those problems are going away. I'll get off my soapbox, but right, it's something we're passionate about because we just see it so much. But those that make that plunge and take on that investment, it's not just dollars and cents, right? Going back to what Kent said, it's human capital and also having the resources to do these things. But again, the right partner, right solution, it's kind of, you might hit a wall, but they got to knock down that wall for you. And you're just going to be so much better coming out of it on the other side.
And Ken, I really like what you said earlier in one of the previous slides is, and I think it could be a great tagline, automate everything. So
Any last?
I think it's it's just one. We probably have another slide coming up with it. I'm pretty sure we do, but Anthony, you hit on it too. Is making sure that you have that right business relationship with your ERP provider. I mean, ERPs are not inexpensive to replace. So when you're investing in that, your ERP provider is going to drive a lot of that tech stack and making sure that you are prepared for, those future needs. So I think that's a huge thing that, all of us deal with on a day-to-day basis is all these emerging technologies is, how to deal with it. And we're having to, be on that forefront to make sure that our systems and our ERPs are capable of being able to tackle those challenges.
Yep. And just like she said with the tagline, it's not just about now, right? It's that future proofing and making sure you've got a partner that, it's going to give you as much or as little hand holding as you need, but put you in that position where they're going to keep investing, advancing the technologies, bringing everything together and look for, hey, if there's an industry pivot, it's got to be addressed. And if you're in a position to address it quickly, you've got that flexibility, right? You use the words modern technology stack. It just puts you in a better position overall.
Let's go ahead. We're going to move on. I think you guys are going to like this one because we're talking about industry-specific software, which we know is very important. So Aptean's research has found that 40% of apparel manufacturers are now using industry-specific technologies. Does apparel-specific software make a difference when driving growth?
Yes.
next
Yes,
slide.
Yes, next slide, Emily.
Next slide.
That says it all.
Yeah, there's a lot to this one for sure.
Anybody want to elaborate on that? Or
Well, one of the things that I'll talk about, obviously, there's generic ERPs, generic PLMs, generic MES or shop floor solutions out there that don't address the specifics of size, color, the different level of SKUs and production types, attributes that go along with that style. And we've seen customers that had an explosion of data because each size, each color, each attribute had to be a different SKU. And it just gets out of control. But even if you don't have that, it's critically important to have the features and functions to serve the apparel manufacturing and apparel and fashion industry. and the uniform industry that has solutions that are very, very specific because there's very, very specific requirements. One of them we talked about earlier was traceability, Anthony, that you brought up is such a key factor. But in terms of the ability to have that technology partnered with a team of people that understand your business, that have, like Kent brought up earlier, he's been on both sides of the fence. He's worked on the apparel side for a manufacturer, and he's worked on the software side. He's a perfect example. We have a team of people that have been on both sides of the fence, so that when you're ready to implement, whether it's shop floor control or PLM design solutions or ERP, we're able to talk to you about your business, not tech talk, but business talk, process talk, understanding what the downline impact of a decision on how you create a style name, how's that going to impact everything downline, just as an example. How are you going to run allocation? What rules are you going to set? What milestones do you want to measure in the factory and your sewing operation? And you brought up earlier, Anthony, that that one operation was a 70% savings. You want an engineer that's implementing your shop floor control that understands that impact and how you can help. They can help you shave seconds and minutes off of a garment, because that goes right to the bottom line and allows you to be more competitive and stay in business. And again, like I said earlier, take market share when you're aggressive.
Thanks,
Yeah,
John.
John, and just to pivot a little on that, what you said is really spot on, because with industry specific technologies, an apparel specific solution, you're getting apparel specific expertise. And that really mitigates risk, cost, and Anthony mentioned before, a lot of companies are slow to embrace technology. When you've got that kind of industry knowledge behind you, there is a lot of one-on-one hand-holding, so to speak, and really helping you through the implementation. And when you want to make any changes once your solution is implemented. So it's important when you're looking at industry-specific technologies to consider what's behind that, and that's industry-specific expertise.
I think you both have said it so well. I mean, there's not much more to cover here, but I'd say, right, our goal, and it's not just because we're a business and want to earn your business, of course we do, from what we do, but that number is 40%, right? We want to get that to 100%. And, this is another thing I'll speak with conviction on, because, we've seen so many manufacturers spend dollars on trying to get things up and running that weren't industry specific, only to have to turn around and then reinvest or add further systems to it. So what John and Damien just said, I mean, it's we've got the evidence there that shows, if you don't choose the right partner and the right solution, that's a key word Damien said, risk. Right. So just removing that risk, making sure that you do have that industry specific team with the expertise, as I said before, right, there's going to be walls, and you want a team that's going to knock those walls down, because it's always going to be a challenge, right? No implementation is perfect, but you want somebody that's not going to let you fail. But I'd say getting you a step closer is making sure that it is an industry specific system and team.
Perfect. Thanks, Anthony, for wrapping us up there. Next up is going to be cloud adoption. So Aptean's research found that transitioning to the cloud has accelerated in the last 12 months, with 1 in 3 apparel organizations now using a cloud-based ERP. Why is uptake increasing at this pace?
I think, John, this is probably closest to you.
Yeah, well, there's a number of reasons for it. We've got customers that are doing well north of 100 million in revenue that have no IT department. And, to be able to rely on us as their vendor, not just for their software, but for the hosting and the security, cybersecurity, disaster recovery, et cetera, takes a huge load off their plate, because they don't have an IT department. They're outsourcing that to a third party, and that third party may or may not be a significant company. It could be a friend of a friend that recommended guy down the street with a server in his garage to host your product. That's not secure, and we've literally seen that. And in the last 4 years, we've seen 14 companies that got hit with ransomware or some kind of a cyber attack that took them down for anywhere from a few days to up to 2 weeks. They lose customers, they lose millions of dollars in business, they lose their customers' goodwill. But if you have something in the cloud that's managed, and that's just on our team alone, we have about 200 people in the company that are responsible for managing the hosting in the cloud for our customers. And that way you can sleep at night. And I've talked to a number of C-suite execs in the industry, just in casual conversation. What's the biggest challenge and concern you have for your business? And many of them would say business continuity, because they've heard the stories. And as we all know, just in the last few weeks between CrowdStrike and CDK, and if you don't know about either one of these stories, especially CrowdStrike, you're probably under a rock somewhere. But CDK was another company that got hit like this and shut down 15,000 car dealers around the country. You don't want to be one of those stories. And if we have a disaster recovery plan in place for you and can manage that, it takes a lot of risk off the table.
And John, right, I'd say disaster recovery, right? Because some of these folks were affected by that stuff. So it's not just about being in the cloud, right? But having a partner that can maintain, provide that security, redundancy. We saw firsthand clients that were impacted by that, depending on who their hosting provider was. But, with services and security in place, and yeah, that's an investment too, but it's one that saved a lot of our clients millions of dollars because they were on their most recent version within minutes versus being down a few days, a few weeks. And then the security aspect. That's why I said it's close to you, right? Seeing people get hit with ransomware that aren't in the cloud, right? That leaves them pretty vulnerable. A lot of people like to believe, we could control our own security that way. That's very true, but it's also costly to maintain, and you got to have the right people. And if you got the right people that do a good job of it, you'll be secure. But it leaves a single point, right, of attack, essentially, a single point of failure. So just a key word that Damien said before, embracing, right? So embracing not just the new technologies, but the cloud and what it really can do and how it could be more secure than trying to take care of these things yourself.
Yeah, and then you have also customers that do have IT departments that still get all these benefits because they can have their IT team working, I like to say working on the business rather than working in the business. You need them to work on a special project that's going to help you get better visibility or save costs instead of worrying about their backups and do they have the latest cybersecurity software up and running, et cetera.
Yeah, I just interviewed an executive team with us that made the decision not too long ago to go from an on-premise system, which they had been running for almost 3 decades. Again, it's a generational business, and they've been very reluctant to make changes. Well, they did adopt and move to cloud earlier this year. And one of the first things the executives had said is, why did we do this sooner? And it's basically because, to their point, they had said, we spent all this time focusing on our IT resources, our IT environment, and everything we need to support and maintain that. And now all of that is taken off of our shoulders, and we can concentrate on our business, doing business, which, with today's significant challenges and demands in the marketplace, you need all the time and the think power to be able to meet those challenges. IT should really not be one of them. So that was a real case scenario that happened just about a month ago.
Excellent.
And I know we could move on, but I feel like we're almost forgetting one thing, right? And it enables everything we've discussed on the previous slides, right? And the scalability and the access to the data, right? You think about the volume of data across all these channels, and whether you're servicing again, if you're vertically integrated and it's your own, or your contract manufacturer that's got a bunch of different clients. The data is expansive, and how do you manage it? How do you leverage to get the right reporting? Inform yourselves to make those better business decisions. Right, the cloud is allowing those modern technologies to work the way they're supposed to and have that level of scalability. So as you grow, right, the system can grow and continue to pivot and adjust with you as well.
All right,
Good point.
guys. Let's go to final thoughts. So we have some time for questions. So last question for, well, not, I guess not last question for you guys, but last one on slides. Any final words of wisdom for apparel manufacturers wanting to harness the power of automation to drive business growth?
I'll start with that. I think it can be boiled down to executives, business owners, just asking yourself, what would my customers say about doing business with me? Is it easy? Is it painless? Is it rewarding? Is it simple? And automation can check all of those boxes for you, along with driving business growth.
And Damien, I'll play off of that, right? So you said customers, we talked about employees and right, the differences of generations coming out and coming in. I'd say you gotta get what I call the ground truth, right? You want to hear from them. How long is it taking them to do things? What do they not like? What would put them in a better position to better service the customer, whether it's a retailer or the end consumer? And hopefully somebody adds on to that. I'll hint and say consumer, but right, we've got to listen to all of them.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We do.
Yeah, I think it
Sometimes-
hits on.
Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it hits on really all of the points, right? With what we try and drive value to our customers, we try and be that valued partner. We try and provide that solution that benefits not only the customer, but their end customers. We try to be cost effective. So it's all that and working together as a partnership and a business relationship to help drive that solution to, better automate and get those end results that the business is looking for. So it's a full package. Essentially, what you're looking for is you're looking for that partner that is flexible, is able to grow with you, is able to understand your business, and can also challenge you and ask you, hey, why is that the best process? Is there a better way to do it? But yeah.
Yeah, to quote you again, Kent, automate everything.
I get a trademark on that
That's
one.
going to be our new
tagline. Absolutely. But I think that, no matter what part of the business you're looking into, and I think one area, we think about manufacturing, we think about how we serve the retailers and the consumers, inventory management, allocation, the multi-channel distribution of products, et cetera, et cetera. And, we did a case study recently with a client that implemented product lifecycle management solution. And as part of that case study, we found that the customer, their design and their research and development team was spending 38% of their day simply looking for things, whether it was an email or on a file server. And we verified that across a number of companies. So that's not this customer wasn't especially bad at it. We're starting to find that that's, it's anywhere from 38 to 50% of their time is spent just simply looking for things instead of creating new product and getting better product out the door.
And Emily, of course, I have something to add, but one word that always, John knows me well enough that it's always a common sense approach in my eyes, right? Care, right? I just always say that word care. Care about your employees, care about your customers, care about whether that's the retailer or the end consumer, and then just find a partner that cares about you and who's going to get you all those things and get those things done for you.
Yep.
Any last final words before we move on to Q&A? Good. Oh,
Automate everything and care.
Those are your takeaways from this panel.
love it. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the Q&A portion. Awesome. All right, so let me pull up Q&A.
So reminder, people can use the chat
Yep.
tool, and everyone sees that, or you can put your questions in the Q&A area, and then the panelists will see that.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, we've had a couple questions come through. Let me see. Number one, what are the first steps an apparel manufacturer should take when considering the adoption of automation technologies?
That's right down your alley, Mr. Mele.
I was thinking, because there's so many things that could be said there. No, but you know, I'll call out one thing. We see a lot of folks that will turn internally, right, to their own business. And I said before, get the crown truths. Try to get an idea of what you're looking for. At the very least, know what you want to achieve. But you know, I see a lot going down that internal path, and they may spend a whole year trying to gather requirements. You know, but I always like to say, you don't know what you don't know. So start seeking out, right? You know, whether that's, of course, I'd love for it to be us, but there's plenty of partners, consultants, people out there that I think it's good to get their input, because if you don't know what the system can do for you, I hate to say it, sometimes you don't know what your own requirements are or what those best practices are, right? And so, you know, we tend to see people spend that time, and then unfortunately, sometimes we're undoing a lot of that, right? Because the standard operating procedure might change because of automation, right? We might eliminate some steps. There might not need to be a certain integration or a third-party platform because you've got it already built in, or it's now part of that new SOP that you've created thanks to what these systems and equipment that can be put in place can do for you. So I think that's a number one thing that I would say you don't want to forget about, is try to listen to you know, some trusted partners that have that experience, work with like type customers, right? Somebody that has a business similar to yours, probably going through the same struggles or experiencing the same impacts, positive and negative, on their business, and have been through the experience, right? And then let the evidence show you what can be improved and what really are those requirements, because then now you really know who can be the right partner to deliver you with those results.
I think just to kind of extrapolate a little bit more on what you said, Anthony, you know, apparel manufacturers, you've been in business, you've been successfully in business for a good period of time. And so you do know a thing or two about your own organization. So I think if you're looking to start the process of automation and technologies, just, you know, don't go through an analysis paralysis, as Anthony said. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't have to turn into a science project, but just, you know, ask yourself a few things, ask within your organization with your key folks there, what's working well today, what's not working well today, and just maybe put that into 2 columns. And then, as Anthony says, get yourself a partner that really understands your organization, and not only understands the organization, but can prove that they've successfully worked with other organizations like yours. And I know that's something Aptean can really do and really bring home, is talk to you about our success and our real life stories that we've encountered over the years in the marketplace, in the field.
So, you know, in the uniform space, we do a version of that, Damien, in the sense that a manufacturer will provide a wear test solution for the retailer to have the end user wear testing things, and then they assist with the process of, you know, the feedback loop on it. And it's very valuable for all the stakeholders. I'm envisioning that that's something that could be an important for a apparel manufacturer looking to either enter or update or, continuous like feedback on how their automation is going. Is that something that vendors like you assist them with, like saying, okay, here's the kinds of questions you can go back to your teams and ask, and then here's how we can assess the answers? And I mean, is that, or am I putting
Oh, no, I think that's an awesome point that you just brought up, Rick. And it's one that I like to talk about when I do talk to owners and executives. Even if you're happy, and we've got a lot of happy customers using a variety of our solutions, but technology is never one and done. It's something you always want to go back to, take a look at and say, what can we do more of? What can we do better than we're doing today? What can we improve upon? And so sticking with a vendor that really understands the organization and understands what you have in place and gives you the knowledge and expertise that working in the marketplace, working with manufacturers, and brings that to bear in any conversations they have with you and bring solutions forward is really, really important. And analyzing what you have and how you're doing it is certainly a really important part of what we can bring to the table.
Thank you.
And Rick, I'll say, right, thanks to organizations like NAUMD, right, giving a platform for all of us to work together, right, and just a simple example like you brought up, right, and obviously, we work with a lot of uniform manufacturers, but I'll talk to them. We were just at a couple last week, and one of them on the West Coast just hired a Green Beret, right, so that they're coming in and taking those knowledgeable people to help with, right, hey, this is equipment, this is survival gear that's used out in the real world. How do we make it better? How do we get that input? How do we be the best at what we manufacture? And I see that a lot, right? I mean, we work with a lot of companies that do turnout gear for firefighters. Who do they work with, right? The firefighters. Like, so to me, it's common sense. I'm just trying to bring this back around. I'll keep joking on Kent and say full circle. But why would you not work with something industry specific? Why would you not try to lean into the knowledge that's available with an industry specific partner, the way that you run that manufacturing process and handle it internally as well?
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Just let's do one more question. I think this was a really good one. What emerging technologies or trends should apparel manufacturers be aware of to stay competitive in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a big question.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll just kick off by saying, Aptean's investing heavily in AI, and I think AI is something we have to be aware of, not just because it's the now phrase, but what parts of your business can it really be applied to? And is it in forecasting? Is it in allocation? Is it in design and development? Is it in sourcing? Being able to run multiple source models all the time and come back with the best suggestion for you. There's so much to be considered there, so much that's going on there. And then just very simply from a customer service perspective, the bots can answer a lot of questions. And AI can also write software. There's a lot to be done here. And, we're at the forefront of that. And I think it's important that you as a uniform manufacturer, as you stay on the front line and research and read about what's going on with AI in your industry, so that you don't get caught by surprise and all of a sudden you've got a competitor running circles around you in a particular area of your business that could have been automated.
Definitely.
We got to continue to educate, ourselves. And Emily will just say, because John said AI,
Yep.
Our headquarters is in Atlanta, and we've got a whole team over at Emory right now taking classes on AI today, right? And giving a conference too. So, but yeah, the suggestions that could come out of that, right? All these systems are collecting data. We've done a good job of delivering that information back to our clients in an easy, digestible format, allowing AI to analyze within seconds and give you suggestions, whether it's a suggested PO, purchase order, whether it's for materials or import full package, or hey, how do we do our line balancing? Let me analyze, right, all of the skill sets and what's going on the floor, all the orders, and have it just tell you who to move, where to put it. Whether you're team lean manufacturing or progressive bundles, right? It's looking at all the variables of the data and within seconds giving that suggestion. And then you've got somebody that's got intelligence, maybe an engineer on the floor, that you couple that with that, and that's where you're saving those seconds, which is nice. And it's well beyond seconds at that point.
Great. Awesome. All righty, guys. Well, I know we're at time. So I just want to thank, NAUMD and Rick for hosting today's webinar. And of course, a special thank you to our presenters, Anthony, John, Damien, and Kent for their insights. And of course, thank you to everyone who joined us today. We truly appreciate your time and the opportunity to connect with industry professionals. For more information or to speak with our team directly, please visit our website at aptean.com/apparel, or feel free to scan the QR code up at the top right corner for a demo request. Now I'll turn it back over to Rick to close us out. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate the topic, especially that last question. I thought of like 4 or 5 things I wanted to ask you guys about, right? Like, like automation. I think part of the future is going to be on-demand manufacturing. We didn't even really talk about how automation can help feed into that, right? And like, how long before Amazon figures out how to assemble polo shirts on demand, right? And then suddenly all of
we have a lot of clients doing it, Rick.
Right.
Don't get us started, Rick. We don't have time.
Yeah, okay, sorry. But that's like a really interesting, maybe we could have you guys come talk to the network about some of those things that are coming, because that individual customization and smaller runs in our industry are going to become more and more important, right? Very different than, the Gap running millions of items at a time. We're in a very different, we need 500 at a time. We need 100 at a time. It's like, so and I have this vision that 5 years from now, we're going to want one at a time.
Yep.
So,
constant marketplace shift, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And they're all unique items, right?
Potentially, yeah. Well, certainly the grading is unique, right? Every time. So in that sense, it's 100% unique every time because it's not the same measurements. But
we could probably do a whole webinar on
that. Thank you so much. This recording will also be in the member portal, and we'll circulate it to everyone. And feel free to reach out to me if people need more contact information than what's listed. All right. Thanks, Emily, for hosting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.